Afternoon, everybody. Clint Ensby with the market report. Yesterday we had 710 cattle that went through the market there. We had a very nice run of cows and heavy cattle. Mixed through there with some handy feeders, and then a fair few secondary cattle that finished the sale off. In general, cows back 20 to 30, in line with what's been going on around the country this week. Heavy steers, the very best of them, held firm. If they were well finished, good lines, well bred, they were firm. They might have been 5 cents back, just under a bit of pressure from the secondary types, but as soon as you come off the top, the secondary cattle were the ones that lost a bit of ground this week. Some of them were 15 to 20, some a bit more in places. And then on your weaner cattle, they were, again, similar story. If you had good lines of well-bred calves, they made reasonable money. Heifers were tough to sell. If any heifers going back to the paddock, they got a bit sticky towards the end, and secondary types were pretty hard to move at times. So the bulls, again, similar to the cows, they were probably 10 or 15 back. Took a very good bull to make 225, and a lot of the bulls between 215 to 220. Then we got onto the cows. Had some handy heavy cows, plenty of weight, some cows touching 800 kilos. They made 220. They might have been a fraction heavy and a little bit overdone, but if you got into those real nice cows at sort of 600 to 700 kilos with a bit of yield and a bit of polish, they were 225 to 230, and a few heifer looking type things out to 240. Plainer cows battled if you got not much weight. If you're less than 450, 480 kilos, a lot of those cows back anywhere from $1.20 to $1.80, depending on yield and type a bit too. And then we have some ultralight cows at less than 400 kilos. Some making down to 50 cents, but not much of a cow there. Into the steers, heavy steers. As I said, if they had finish, if they had polish, they had a bit of yield about them. A few supplementary fellas. They still topped out at 295 going into the trade. That was for around that sort of 500, 520 kilos. Got under the crossbreedy types, coloureds, your Herefords and greys, you're back at 285 to 290. And if you slipped off the top and cattle lacking a bit of yield, you're back 250, 260 quickly as well. Not enough heifers really to quote this week. There was barely any of them. The handful that were there might quote them at 240 or 50, but again, just a handful of them here. Feeder cattle, best of them out to about $2.90. I think we had some black steers, not a lot of weight, 330, 340 kilos. They made up to $3.20. Same story, back into the bits and pieces, 250 to 280. And if you're a secondary type or off the top, $2 to 220 or 30. A little bit of value buying there. If you've got a bit of feed to put them away in the paddock, there's still cattle there that'll turn out all right if you put them aside. Heifer job, if they're good enough to kill, they make $3 going into the domestic butcher trade. But if they come off of that and they're in the feeder job, we had a couple of nice runs of heifers make 260. If you had a pen of them and they were 400 odd kilos, if you come off the top of that and you get down in the weight anywhere from sort of 320 or 330 or under, varied a lot between sort of $1.80 through to $2.30 or 40 for the good pens. But then we got into some secondary type cattle, and they were tough to move if they were off types or not quite the breeding or not quite the breed. A few exotic type breeds, very hard to shift to that bottom end. But is a little bit of buying if you got a bit of paddock feed or you're going to bank on the rain or got a bit of hay. There's a bit of buying there in some little cattle if you want to put some away. Put some away for the winter time or next spring. There's definitely an opportunity there at the moment. That's the market report. We got one more next week, and then we got the week off before Easter, so we'll line them up and see how we go.